So the tabbouleh will be made with, of course, parsley, shallot and eschalot, lemon juice and tomato, mixed herb and salt and ground pepper. And then we will be starting the leek and potato soup. So we'll start with a duck fat, which is inside the little container here. The dark stuff is when you are making the magret, you're recovering the fat, and I'll show that tomorrow morning for breakfast. And then of course the leek itself, some celery, and then the potato on the left. We have fennel that we can also put in, and parsley and white onion. So you want the cream of leek to actually stay in the shade of green, so you don't put any other vegetable that will have a very strong taste or will color it. Then if you don't call it a cream of potato and leek, then you call it a vegetable cream. So we will start cooking right away. So we have prepared a very hot plate, and then from there we will put the fat, the white onion, get a nice grilled onions in it, and then we will put the other vegetable for full cooking. Okay, we're pretty well ready to put in the pot all the cuts: leek, the fennel, the celeries, the potatoes, and then I forgot to mention a couple cups of chicken broth, which will really help at increasing the flavors. And then we're going to go see inside the pot the onions that are really fried inside the duck fat, and some at the bottom of it, a bit of duck reductions, which I will show how to do tomorrow morning. So this is nice and grilling. We're going to put all the rest of the vegetable in, add the broth, add additional waters. And then, like I mentioned, the beets, simple. Clean the beets, put some herbs. Those are salted herbs. You can make them yourself with different herbs that you find in your garden. And then we will add waters and boil that for probably an hour and a half until they get real soft, and then I'm going to continue the recipe afterwards. Alright, so we got the beets going. Those guys are going to take probably an hour and a half to go. And then we have the leek and potato soup. It's going to be a cream of leek and potato. And we will be doing after it's finished. It's need to simmer for at least a good hour till the potato are well cooked, and then all what's in the pot gonna go through a little blender so that we make a cream out of it. So we have to be patient. Then I kept some of the broth, as I'm gonna have reductions in there. I'm just gonna replenish with the broth that I kept, so that you have enough good liquids in it and a good balance for the texture. Okay, so our leek and potato soup is pretty well ready. The potatoes are nice and soft, and we will be blending this. Alright, so we did blend the leek and potato soup, or cream by now. And then if you notice, within the blenders, you had a lot of fibers. I had to clean that a few times. Don't hesitate, just take this stuff away. It's probably gonna be unpleasant. You saw the type of blade I use for the blending, which is this knife, dagger type blade on the blender itself. And then the finished product with a touch of sour cream, or you can use any type of cream, and of course a piece of parsley, so that you can enjoy the beautiful meal. On hand, which is making a nice tabbouleh. So we have the ingredients that are ready: parsley, green shallots, the regular shallots, we have lemons and tomato. Oh, by the way, all the food I made is gluten-free, so you will not see me put, for example, bulgur inside that tabbouleh. I don't think we need that. It don't add much of a flavor anyway. Okay, so we have prepared the tabbouleh ingredients. So you saw that I changed knife. I use a longer blade knife, very thin. So we did the chop the parsley very, very, very fine, and then the tomato also chopped fairly fine, and you can see the juice coming out of it. And then the shallot, the red shallots, the small one, what we call the French shallot, and then the green shallots in it, and then the lemon squeeze. They're all in there, the juice, and then of course the salt with herbs, which I cannot say the name of the company, but it's great stuff. And then I talk about bulgur, I talk about quinoa. We have mixed it all up. It's got all the onions, the shallots, the lemon juice, the tomato, and like I mentioned before, I did roast some pine nuts. Now you got to be extremely careful. They will burn very easily. So now they're nice and roasty, and I put them on a paper towel so that we can absorb the excess of oil in it, and I slightly salt it with fleur de sel, which is wonderful. So what we have in there, on the left, the bone marrow, who has cooked and let some of his grease out, and then it did cook for a while nicely. The onions, a little bit of celery, parsley, and then we have with that the spice, steak spice, some mixed herbs and salt, and some fine herbs, and we just put in on the right hand side the blade roast that now we're gonna roast thoroughly all around before we prepare it to go inside the oven. So I just add the carrots and 2 cups of water. I turn the meat around so it don't get dry on the top of it, and try to release as much as this sugar stuff on the pot, on the creuset, and we'll let that go inside at 350 for about another 15 minutes before we had the. So we'll be removing the piece of meat. It's been cooking in there for at least a couple of hours, nice and tender, and then we'll leave the potatoes, the turnips, the carrots to finish cooking inside that fabulous broth. So we just want to make sure that the meat continue to maintain its flavor, don't need to boil with all this vegetable, and we can put it aside for now, let it sit when we're going to be preparing the plates. All right, so here's the final product with the meat that is perfectly cooked, the turnip, the potatoes, and the carrots. So really another masterpiece of comfort food that people will really enjoy. Bon appetit once again. Alright, so let's move to our next recipe. So on the left hand side, the beets that I've cooked. I did clean them, remove the peel on it. Then shallots, the regular French shallot and white onion. I did put some basil olive oil on it, and I cooked them inside the microwave for 2 minutes just to soften them up and take a bit of the bitterness out. The next ingredient is balsamic vinegar, but you need to take at least 6 years old or 8 years old. You want the sweet stuff, well, not the vinegar bitter taste. You want the sweetness. Salt, herbs, and fennel, and then of course ground pepper. So we will be chopping all this, putting it all together, and see what's the final product look like. Final product, we can serve it inside a little white bowl as an entree or a side dish. Marvelously sweet and fine, and notice how the onions are translucent by this light 2 minutes inside the microwave, simply with the basil olive oil on it. And you serve it cold, so, or hot. Those are hot as we speak, fairly nice. And but you can heat them cold. You can put it over your salad. It's a fabulous side dish. Bring a lot of flavor, bring a lot of color, and they will stay good in the fridge because of the vinegars, the balsamic vinegar, for at least a good week, and even longer. But I'm telling you, you ain't gonna last a week. They're all gonna be gone. So bon appetit.